Hey guys, Cameron here. Before we start the episode, I just wanted to mention that this podcast will have two parts. The first part you will be listening and watching here on YouTube, and the second one is part of our $20 backer tier, where we're going to dive deeper into our topic today, which was and is, since I'm recording this intro as we intro, the pilots of Capgun and the pilot weekend and everything that went into it. So I'm going to go into gallery mode here, and I'm going to introduce Justin and Mitchell. Justin is our representative from Danny Swiggleton. He helped bring him on and got him situated. And Mitchell is the creator of Working Title. Hello.
Well, thank you for having us, Cameron. It's super awesome to be here, and it's been super exciting having Pilot Week just all out there all of a sudden, because we had so many projects going on at once. So it's really, really weird, but also exciting to just have them all out there for the world to see now. Like
for sure.
Best kept secrets.
Well, and especially now since as the time of releasing tomorrow, we're going to release our episode 2s. Right, which are certainly in productions, which is why we really can't talk about them because they're still being worked on as we speak, so we don't have any final things. But since we're going to step into that, I want to take a step back and talk about our pilots, everything that went into them. And I know, especially for me, this has been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Guardians was first developed in December of 20. You were just about to ask, weren't you?
Yeah. No, I was gonna ask. Like, I feel like I've been seeing scripts come from you for a long time now. It's been a long production. I was gonna ask, like, around when would this have started? So go ahead.
December of 2019.
We're in 2021 now.
Yeah. So it was a full year between first conception, and I conceived the first whole season as a pilot episode and then broke it down to make a web format.
So how's it changed from December 2019 to now, either as a series or if you want to just talk about the episode?
So I don't this section of the show actually I don't feel has changed that drastically since we started, because all the scenes were always in place. Dialogue was always being tuned and fixed and stuff like that.
It's a finagling process.
Yeah. I think I started adding more things later into the season to not only extend it, but to give it more depth. And we're still developing the rest of season 1 right now. I feel that's still happening even to this day. But I think the whole idea of what the show was going to be and how big this was going to be changed. Like, I didn't know it was going to be as big until it got big, which is funny. I feel like somehow I always start with these intentions of it's going to be fine, and then it just quadruples in size.
It's hard to restrain that creativity, so that's tricky.
For sure.
Is it overwhelming, or do you feel like you're the master of the series?
I'm never a master. I never have a grip on it. I think, Justin, you know that better than most, that I know that I don't have a grip on
fine.
things.
I mean, it just allows the creativity to flow a little bit more.
But it works. I mean, I think I gotta give a lot of my props to Tim, who was our DP for this one, and is gonna be our DP for Guardians. I won't say he held my hand throughout the process, because I think that would be wrong.
And just way too adorable.
Also, I think his girlfriend would be a little concerned.
I get that.
Cameron Spector, gay icon confirmed.
Justin just like, I'm not going to comment. How's Ryder doing? How's
Sorry,
Ryder?
Justin.
Great. Fantastic. He held my hand through every production, and especially Guardians. I feel like, Cam, you should be able to take on that level of comfort.
I think the interesting part about what we do, especially in this budget range, right? And I think we have seen, especially within the past year, a more respect for our budget range, right? That sub 20,000 I was just reading recently that the Screen Actors Guild came out with a new tier of production projects called micro budget, which is any short film or episode, each episode costing less than $20,000, which gives especially producers a lot more creative freedom as far as pricing of actors and insurance and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think what's really nice about that is we're seeing that. I think, first of all, we're seeing the realization that not every project is going to be big. And we're realizing that, especially in a guild that I think looks out for its people, they have the understanding that they are the easiest to get into out of all the unions. And so now that we have had that realization, they go, okay, we get that, like, you can have friends and, like, they'll be in this tier and that's fine. And so we're going to let those people have that because we think that actors have to sign waivers in order to be a part of these projects, right? I understand that there's no rate, that there's no this, that there's no that. So they know what they're getting into. And so I think that's the important part. But I think it gives us producers and directors a lot more challenges because our scope has just been widened. And especially not for Guardians, which is shot in Berlin. So we have different rules out here as far as, the unions aren't as big out here and we just kind of treat people with respect. So that wasn't an issue out here. But I think especially if we bring more productions back to the States, that will be the case, that it will be easier for us to make better content now.
Right, and it's great because it's also such a new world thing. Like it is easy to say, well, obviously there's always been smaller productions, and that they just haven't been picking up on until now. It is a fairly newer thing that a smaller production is also going to be a potentially profitable one,
right?
That needs the actors from this area. It's tricky just because usually, like, you have your older days of, you'll go to college, you'll do a film, maybe do a bigger short film as best you can, but, like, you could go blockbuster after that. Obviously, film festival circuit always existed, but to get even smaller than that, it's a fairly new arena that the internet has really allowed for. And that's where we operate for
100%,
like half the time.
Yeah, I think especially for me, it's always a struggle what projects go where. Because I know Justin and I, we always have this conversation about these are the 10 projects that are currently on the board. Which ones go to the bigger festivals? Which ones go to the smaller festivals? And which ones go straight to YouTube? Because we need to keep that content flowing, especially on this platform, which I found good. It felt so freeing to have a project to know this is going straight to YouTube.
You're saying that YouTube's just like the dumpster. You don't even toss it in there. Just
no.
It's more like a void in a sense, and it's like
yeah,
you're putting it out there, and whoever
you don't
sees
know what
it
you're gonna
sees
get back. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I feel like, especially on YouTube, like I can say the people that I've talked to about Guardians so far that aren't filmmakers, they've had a different, like, their perspective. Everyone's had a positive perspective on Guardians, but I feel like some of the people that are in the industry have had some technical gripes with some of the minute things that I think things would show up in film festivals, but a general audience doesn't really pick up on, especially on web.
Right, and platform in which you convey your story, your movie, your film show, that does leave an impression on people. This is always an interesting thought to me. Not that we go to theaters anymore, but you go to a movie theater, right? You don't like immediately walk out, and the first thing that you see is a long comments section of all the people who are giving their opinions on the movie. You could seek that out, of course, but on YouTube, for instance, that is an attached part of the experience. And platforms change based off of that kind of stuff, and it always interests me because it does tamper with expectations. It does tamper with takeaways.
What's also fascinating is the live chat feature on Premiere.
Yeah,
videos.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Which, especially for Guardians, was big. because we got people from all over the place chatting, and that got interesting. Because
is that still attached to the YouTube video?
I don't know. I don't know if it is or not.
Usually live chat replays enabled for videos, but it might have been
I didn't turn it off.
We'll check in on that.
Yeah.
Comment down below if it's there.
But especially for the shorts that we release and stuff like that, I think that's a great way to bring people together. And also what I did for mine and what we did for Mitchell's, which, Mitchell, I want to know your thoughts on how the talkback went and what your thoughts on doing that was.
I think it went pretty well. To be honest with you, again, it was a quick 5 or 10 minute thing.
Sure.
But at the same time, it was way closer to when we just finished doing Discarded, and we're still it was fresh in a sense. It was fresher than it is now, and so the reaction was a little bit more raw, in a sense. I think it was successful in the sense that it captures the initial reaction of finishing a film, of putting it out, and of expecting them, waiting to see how it does.
Well, I know for Guardians we did a pretty lengthy one at that. I think I sat on there for 45 minutes with various technical issues. But we had Danny, who plays Cruz, Tim, our DP, on, Gracie, who's our costume designer, on, and Seb, one of our other producers, on as well. So that was 4 people that we brought on. And we're doing it again this round for the second episode, and we already have, I think, 3 or 4 people lined up for that round of talkbacks as well. So I just found it interesting, right? I thought for myself it was cool to have that conversation, have it live, have people be able to comment in on what they were seeing or what they maybe want to ask people, and have their candid reactions to, oh, this just went live, right?
Yeah.
This is a very, because I was thinking about just the general vibe of the feeling of releasing a product like Mitchell was just talking about. And it takes on such a wide variety of emotions. I'm purely curious because this is usually a more commonly studied thing with repetitive people who are uploading videos repeatedly, very frequently. Have either of you ever experienced post-upload depression? Because that's a legitimate thing where you upload a thing, and really no matter what the response is, there's kind of just a void and emptiness kind of there, even if it's an amazing thing. We want to keep this positive, but they're also very curious.
I think yes, but also I think that's much more common than people tend to believe.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I think it's just the way that producing a film is structured and the way that making a film is structured, that you're working with this whole crew of people, no matter how big it is, for however long, and putting all this effort into them, and all of a sudden it's over, it's done, and then you put it out, and yes, sometimes it does well and you're very happy, sometimes it doesn't and you're like, at least it's done. But I think that sudden loss, I think you're right, that sudden loss of just, oh, it's over now, all right, see you everybody, find a new job, it's like yeah, find something else, see you later. I think that's the drasticness, if that's the correct word for it, is very jarring, I think, for a lot of people.
From you are on to you're off.
Yes, exactly. And even if you're doing, I think, a smaller time film like us, where you're possibly editing it yourself, and you've already said goodbye to all those people, and now you're presenting it. And not only are you presenting it to the world, but you're presenting it to the people who worked on it. And I think that also creates not necessarily what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily a depression in the sense of, oh, it's out there and it's gone. It's in the void if we're uploading to YouTube. It's like casting off a family member and having, in a sense, you could have a premiere also be synonymous with a funeral, because you're celebrating not only the product, but you're celebrating everything that everything that came to be,
The release of a product, but also the end of a production.
Exactly, yes. So the
Interesting,
end of
yeah.
that experience is, yes, I'm sad that it's over. I'm happy I had it. But
Sometimes the best way to just cover that up is move on to the next thing.
exactly. And I think definitely it depends on how well, in the sense of an aftermath, I think that definitely can be affected by how well a film does.
Right.
Because then you're dwelling on it. It's like, oh, we had such a great time. We did so much. We did all this. Why didn't it get popular? And to be honest, I don't really think it's about that. It's about putting out something that you're happy about and putting out something you're satisfied with, but also just working with people that you want to work with.
A lot of that is just the artist's struggle, right? It's because how many times do you like hear about artists, especially like way back when, that like passed before they got popular, but like they kept making, and if they didn't, they wouldn't have got into that. Like, but like it's all about the mindset that you're in, because if you're in it for the attention, then not everyone gets that. Not even a majority of people get that. But you keep trying at it, you could find success, and a lot of it comes down to you gotta just enjoy every step of it, as opposed to just being there for the ending. And it's not an easy mindset for everyone to get into. I've seen people just kind of drop because things weren't working out in that like that fantasy dream kind of way, and with immediacy to it.
Yeah. I think one of the most important quotes I got from the very beginning when I started just film class in high school was from my teacher, and it's, a film is never going to look the way you imagined it, and you just have to accept that. It's not going to look perfect. It's going to look good, if not great, but it's never going to be how you envisioned it.
I'm going to say one thing in response to that, but I know Cameron wanted to say something, so I'll keep this brief. Just the simple.
I always can say something. That's not the issue.
Okay, well, it looked like you were you were trying to speak.
I just know that feeling too well. That's the thing.
Yeah, I feel like we all do.
I do really love the more, especially the more people you have on board, the more variables you have. You don't know what an acting performance is gonna feel like. You don't know how your DP is gonna exactly move things about. Like it's such a beautiful moldable process. It's tricky if like you get so attached, say in the early development or scripting process, and you have such a specific vision, and that helps. It helps to have a specific vision that drives things, but if you're able to get into the mindset that you're going to be excited about how things are molded, that is a very healthy place to get yourself into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely, like obviously have an end idea, an end product in mind, but filmmaking is also very much about going with the flow and understanding that there is a flow, even if you are in charge. Because you're right, there are so many different variables. There are so many different things you have to take into account. And there's so many things that can go wrong. And I mean, I feel like a lot of filmmakers focus on what goes wrong because they have to take care of it.
Right.
But at the very end, I feel like, yeah, it's just, it's a lot of the end product, and you just have to be happy with it. To sum up, it's just like,
Mitchell, did you have a flow on your set? Because we had issues on Guardians, like all the issues. Like it was a lot.
For Discarded, I feel like, well, for Discarded there was a couple things. We didn't really have a flow until the end, when we started getting rained out, and we needed to very quickly get a number of shots. So I think the flow is definitely variable upon who you have and what the situation is and how everyone works with each other. Because you have, again, we always talk about these variables, but yeah, it's for Discarded there was a couple of things, because A flow is just sort of like, hey, we're doing this, we have this going, and, here it is. We did this shot. Is it good? Yes. It's a process. It's almost like an unwritten, it's an unwritten process that everyone sort of picks up on gradually. And I feel like if you have a short film, like a one-day shoot, it's hard to get into that flow. And I've seen people not get into that flow at all. But, again, going back to Discarded, we had getting rained out. And that's really when we got into a flow, when we needed to get stuff done. That was the situation we were in, and we took care of it to the best we could. I think also the flow heavily depends on who is in charge, because they dictate what goes on. And again, if the director or the creator or the producer is not going with the flow, how can you have a flow in the first place? It's like, I know for the beginning of Discarded, I was very nervous. I was all over the place. And I feel like I sent people all over the place a lot of the time. So, just gradually getting into that mindset and realizing, okay, I have a good amount of people here. I have a good group of people here that are reliable and that I can trust on, and they can do as much work as I can. I think having that mindset going into it and being able to go with the flow creates that flow. And again, for Discarded, we did not have that flow for a long time until the very end. So we did, but not really.
It's also a fairly new crew, right? And sometimes it's just about familiarity and getting used to specific roles that people take on, even beyond what their categorized job is on the set, because no one's job is person
entirely
who's also the therapist, for instance.
Yeah.
But people fall naturally into these more personal roles. Some people are just better at giving commands than others on the sets. And some people are better at taking orders than others on the set. So you get into a flow of who is good in what areas. And flow, the flow comes, I assume, pretty naturally from there. Do you have that experience, Cam?
You're funny. No.
Wait, no!
I just destroyed your argument. It doesn't get easier.
One word.
It doesn't get easier.
Well, I'm not saying
the only time that I think it's minimally gotten better was from last year when a bunch of us shot 2 films back to back in very short succession. And even then we had issues.
I'm not saying issues go away when there's a flow, but there's at least a mutual understanding of how to best try to get things done. But yeah, problems on set happen.
I think yes and no. I think because it always depends on the mood of the set and who your AD is. I learned that one the hard way.
Yes, bless our ADs.
I'm going to be very diplomatic in my approach as to how I words. Our AD was not who I needed, personally, as an assistant director. I think it's hard to find the perfect person for you. And for that reason, it gets hard to find that perfect person. And when, as a director, you have everything on set, I think Guardians was the perfect example of a shoot that just couldn't stop going wrong.
Can you get any fun examples that you could give that aren't
Let's
just
see.
misery?
Day one, the power went out on the cafe set.
Ugh.
Where we were trying to put in lights and we did not know where what outlets went. And we were in a cafe that was still trying to run things. It was closed, but it was still trying to run things. And so,
right.
Oof. No. Day 2, this was for the opening. So day 2 was our worst day. 12 hours in total for me working. you gotta also remember I wore a mask the whole time, and
Right.
that's stressful. That moisture gets caught up in your mouth and around your mask, and you start to have trouble breathing. It got to me. But day 2, we shot the opening of episode 2, which is this Western style scene.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we had such a hard time with it starting to flow. Like, we just had hard times getting shots, hard times getting things perfect. Noise was always an issue. Like, for some reason, a car wouldn't stop driving by.
Just one car, just.
And
There's
and,
always one. There's always one person who won't leave you alone.
They just make a day out of it. It's absurd. It happens on every film set.
And the second
really
we
does.
stopped filming, and my DP got sick of it and said we need to find a new location, and we come back, they said to us, not a single car drove through this whole entire time. And we start shooting. Within 5 minutes, the cars start coming through again.
They know. They really know.
On top of that, we were about 2 hours behind, and it started raining. And then the sun came out. And then it got cloudy again. So we had to wipe like 3 hours from our day because of that. And then on top of that, we went then to shoot the opening of episode 1, which first of all took me in an acting position because I played the dead body. We were all exhausted. We all wanted to just go home. And then that moment, as we're in the middle of shooting the scene, a bunch of homeless people show up and ruin our set. Like, demanding to get through. And that's when we ended. So especially that opening was not how I wanted it to end, but we could not, for life of us, get it shot. It was just such a mess. Let's see. Day 3, we shot on the busy street. We did the end of episode 1, which we were able to cover the noise pretty decently, but it was a nightmare. And that's when we had a lot of people who, like, when you're trying to shoot something and people just decide to force themselves into the scene by screaming something. Yeah. Constant struggle. Yeah. And then
you just make them a character.
And then the end of day 4, we ran out of light, and we had issues with light and noise. It was just a mess. I don't know how we got to the result that we did, because I think for what we did, we got a great result, but it was just a mess for 4 days, and I was just freaking out, hoping that we'll have something. And I think that's the thing. It's like it can sometimes end really poorly for everyone.
Does that color your perception of the film today? Do you watch it and you're thinking about that? Or are you able to kind of separate your mind from that nowadays when you are, primarily when you're consuming the product, sharing it? I say product, but like that film product makes it sound so commercial.
Do you need to divide yourself? Right? The end result will never... the others will not see the end result the same way you do.
Of course.
Especially from people that create everything from scratch, and we're the ones that write it, we're the ones that shoot it, we're the ones that edit it, right? We will not see it the same way as everyone else does.
Makes sense, yeah.
And so putting that perspective in my head is what I try to start with. And then we go from there. Or else you just go mentally insane. Like that's you will go crazy if you do not.
Artist, but as an artist, go on.
You will go mentally insane, and I think that's important that we remember. And so, yeah.
I agree. I feel like a lot of sets, I have been the nervous Nelly, and
always.
I have definitely seen it affect, the people around me. I've definitely seen it affect the product itself, and with that in mind, I think yes, you really do have to keep that that philosophy, because you can't just you can't pull a Stanley Kubrick. None of us are Stanley Kubrick. You can't just have somebody stay there for 247 shots or takes and say it has to be this. again, a lot of us are doing, shoots in a few days. A lot of us are getting rained out. A lot of us have time constraints. Everyone. A lot of us are still students. A lot of us are still working on the side. So I think at some point, you're right. You have to say, it doesn't look the way I want it to look, but it looks great and it looks good and it fits. And I think if you have that, I mean, I don't want to diminish the importance of getting what you want and being happy with the product, but at the same time, there is a point where you have to say, this is good, and and it's also, I think, very dependent on your view. Your view of the film is very dependent on what other people's view of the film is as well, because you may say, oh, it's terrible, oh, it's this, oh, it's that, and not even want to put it out. And then the second someone sees it, they're like, oh, okay, this is this is that, and this is great. No one, because they don't see oh, someone walked through this and you had to cut it 3 seconds short, and there was a whole other part to this.
I think there's a couple of notes that I would like to add on to that. One of them being, Mitchell, the note that you made earlier about your teacher saying that you will never, it's never going to be the movie that you envision it to be, very much plays into this.
Yes.
Especially for me. I think especially since it's not the movie that I wanted it to be, 100%, I am sad that it's not the movie that I wanted it to be, and therefore I think that the movie sucks. But that brings me to point number 2, which is that the viewer does not know this perception, and therefore it comes in with a different set of eyes of, oh, this is the product, and can value it on a totally different thing.
Exactly. They don't see all the work that went into it. That's like at the back of the DVD or whatever, in the behind the scenes commentary. But they learn those things after they see it, and I think having an audience seeing it for what it is the most what's the word, unbiased and raw form of, you're really getting what the film is about. You're really getting essentially the soul and how it looks to other people, because you're showing it to other people and they're telling you, this is great, or this is what needs to be fixed. I noticed this in here. I noticed that in the other spot. I mean, how many companies have just focus groups that they show stuff to before they release it?
I mean, I show to at least 10 or 15 people before I am done with it.
Exactly.
Or I try to, at least, especially for the bigger stuff, right? Like Guardians, we sent it to a bunch of people. For other products, I've done literal focus groups, and we've literally sat a bunch of people into a room and said, "Watch this. Tell me what you think." Doesn't happen as much anymore because of Corona.
COVID, yeah.
But that is super important, and I also think that they will show you what specific notes are important and what aren't. Right? Yeah. There were things in Guardians that I thought were super important that were wrong, that people were like, no, I actually like it like this.
I definitely agree. I think, that and that's really a big thing, is that making it the way you want and making it exactly how you envision might actually make the film worse in a sense, because something that you have that you might have looked over is great, and you just took it entirely out of the film. I mean, right. There's whole everyone's heard of, oh, this scene was improvised. Oh, that's that happened. I think Robert De Niro once got hit by a car in one of his films and yelled at the guy, and they left it in because it was just too perfect.
I think the line "Hey, I'm walking here" is like,
yes.
Is that De Niro? I forget if that's De Niro or not. I don't know if it's De Niro.
It's either De Niro or Joe Pesci.
I feel like that's the Pesci line, but I might be wrong. But remember, that line is improvised.
Yeah, exactly.
That was just yeah.
Like, and here's Johnny. I mean, there's so many things that are just like, oh, this is off script, cut. But then again, you have moments of gold that you never planned for. and and that you never see as gold until someone else says this has value.
We were talking about just like talking, like getting that feedback, and especially while you're in production, taking criticism is so huge. And I've worked with countless people who would rather, and this is not like anyone in our circle is more in the animation world, but that would rather kind of debate, right, than like debate why something is working, as opposed to understand that like they're the only person with the concept clear in their head, and that conveying the information you want to get by is difficult to do perfectly on the first try, because you'll know what your story's about. You'll know what every single scene means and how it relates to whatever core point you're getting to. But if it doesn't come across to the audience, there's no point in just debating, no, this is why it's perfect. If it's not being conveyed, it's not being conveyed. And it's so important to understand that the audience criticisms, especially if you get the same critiques often, need to be addressed. Granted, you're the artist, do whatever you want. But when I say address, I mean get creative. Do things that you are interested in doing to address the problem. The artist never knows what they want. The audience doesn't know what they want, but they do know when they're understanding something, and that is the simple basics of it, and you just gotta listen to that.
Yeah,
I definitely agree. I think definitely you have to translate it to the screen, and if you don't, it's going to be lost. No one's going to pick up on the inkling of you trying to do something unless it's obvious you're doing it. And yes, I agree. I mean, you have to have a thick skin to be in film, because criticism is an innate part of it. It's there's an entire industry based around critiquing film.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be there's always going to be someone who doesn't like it. There's always going to be someone who says something here is wrong. And definitely I think we all need to hear that. And I think definitely we all need to be receptive to that. What I will say is there is a limit. There is a limit on expectations, and there is a limit on how much criticism you can take. Because I've definitely, shown something to someone, and they go, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is bad, this is weird, that's weird. Why'd you do this? And be like, well, now I don't even want to put it out. There is like that. There is sort of there. We talked about post-film depression, but I think there's also pre-release
anxiety.
Pre-release anxiety, because it's, oh my God, this is terrible. This is going to get like 0 views and -1 likes on YouTube. It's going to be like one of those things that, again, it's going to be in the void and no one's going to see it. And if someone does, they're going to write it off. But because of the fact that you got, that criticism, it can lead to that mindset. And I think that can also translate to your mindset on other products as well. Because you can't stop thinking about the criticism you got on other projects. And like you said, Justin, if you're getting the same critique a lot of the time, you're going to be looking out for it the next product, on the next project that you do. So I think it really does go into that. I think really like the pre-release anxiety and just having a whole bunch of people at once take a look at your film and say something, something, something negative. While, yes, criticism is important, and yes, criticism must be taken into account, but it's also like you have to see for yourself what you have and accept that, okay, it's not how I want it to look. It's not exactly how I envisioned it. And I feel like you have to know that going in. Again, we said it before, it's never going to look the way you envision it. But
Never.
I'm getting a little off topic, but
Oh, good.
it's like, it's just, there is a lot that, again, there's a lot of factors that go into making a film. There's a lot of factors that go into how a film is received as well. And I feel like that's what we're all talking about and trying to get across, is that, no matter what happens, you have to just keep going and say, okay, this is what's good, this is what needs to be improved, this is how it's going to work.
Yeah, it's a big mental health concern, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're getting at.
Yeah.
But especially because, to put it very simply, we put so much of ourselves and our identity, especially if you consider yourself a big artist, into what you make. It's so easy to become what you make, and that thing that you make, that's you. And if someone says that bad, it's you. It is you who is bad. And you don't walk into I've heard this comparison before. This isn't just me coming up with this. You walk into a coffee shop. All it takes is for like one person to give you a nasty comment for you to not want to go there anymore. But when you're online making stuff for people, you can get a whole lot of nice things, and when those mean things come in, you just gotta take it, and that's kind of just the accepted vibe on the internet, especially when you have an audience that has more of that anonymous feeling to them as opposed to their friends that know you, and people can kind of just say whatever's on their mind. It's it's so quick to be driven real far down by it. So it is a lot of keeping yourself in check. Just about a week ago, I'm trying to think of examples for myself on another channel. I think this goes to like how a tough skin could be developed over time. But someone said, tired of that Justin guy, just straight up. I'm like, and honestly, like I wish I could give a story about like it hurt me and I overcame, but like. The tough skin develops over time. I saw that and went. I didn't even like think about it personally by this point. I just went. I guess yeah. I've been in quite a few of these frequently. Okay, fair enough. but like you walk into the coffee shop and someone says to your face, "I'm kind of sick of seeing you."
Get out of here.
I just be
that ruins your day.
No.
that it's so easy to ruin someone's day. It's also so easy to make someone's day. But I feel like people are a lot more excited to kind of like point out like the nitpick that made them angry than just say, you know what, this really made me happy and you've made my day. People do say that, and it's amazing when people do. But the frequency 100%. is a little whack online, especially.
Go ahead.
I wanted to just mention, I think that I have more release anxiety rather than post-release depression.
Oh, I'm way more post-release depression.
Just more. Because, well,
but you have the hectic set life more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's because I think the way that I plan my releases, or at least I try to plan everyone's releases, is that by the time I started working on finished Guardians was ready to go as a premiere about 2 weeks before it aired. By that time, I had already written another script.
Yeah.
For a totally different thing. And I think
that's you every day.
That's right. But I think that lifestyle and that, I'm always working on things. And, while I was focusing on Guardians, I was focusing on Mitchel, getting Discarded ready. And I was focusing on you, Justin, and Danny, getting Danny's first episode ready.
Yeah.
So my brain was like, oh, good. Guardians came out. Cool. All right. Next project. Because I don't have that time. And especially because I know Guardians is here to stay. I know I'm going to work with these people again. Right? This group is coming back. Or I'm hoping it comes back. And I hope that we can make it again. And it's planned on happening. I think that's what makes it less hurting at this moment. Because I think especially specific films that have gone up on the festival circuit, when I upload the festival, the video to our platforms to be able to submit to festivals, I'm just like devastated because I'm like, oh, I am terrified. I hope people like it, but I'm just so sad that I can't work on it anymore, that it's done, So I think that's where I get it more. I had another note, and now it was about notes. Oh, yes, I remember now. I'm sorry. My brain just shut off. Does this happen to you guys where you ask for notes from people? Where you
Does this happen to you? Cameron,
do you have post-film depression?
Just insert substance abuse here. I was gonna give a specific example, but then that's not. It's not a nice joke.
Hollywood.
So let's
Hollywood
make fun
is
of
the
it.
example.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, go ahead, Cameron. Has this happened?
Do
to
you
us?
ever
Yes.
get notes that don't help you whatsoever?
Yeah.
Yes.
And and people are trying to be nice and help you, but they give you notes, and you're like, well, I can use 3 of these because the other 27 are things that I can't fix.
I did that to you. I did that to you last night.
You did that to me last night.
Well, I needed to throw it out there because I wasn't sure if it was doable or not. I note that I asked him to like maybe cut down a scene in a particular few places. He's like, it's too late for that. But I'm like, okay.
We
I
had
figured
the
that was-
score,
I know. I knew it was a possibility, a strong one, but like throw it out there, But that said, most people don't consider the fact that it's not usable. Like, yeah.
They're like, can you change this shot to look like this? And I go, no,
I didn't film that.
I didn't film that shot.
Oh my god.
It doesn't exist.
Yes. Things that, like, comments after you've already finished, like, after you've already wrapped shooting.
Yeah, that's
It happens all the time.
It'd be cool if that guy were to end like this. And I'm like,
should have told me 3 months ago.
should
I also it's a little clearer in the animation worlds because it's everything is perpetually in flux and can be changed kind of instantly. We talked about perfection. That that is something nice about animation, that you can theoretically craft it as close as you can to your vision. It is pretty impossible to get perfection, but it's
but much closer than film.
Yeah, where film, there's so many variables that are way
Speaking
out
of
your
perfection,
especially the more people you have on board. Yes,
that was the perfect way to end this half of the podcast with perfection. So if you want to listen to more in-depth, we're going to continue this conversation, but not on YouTube. This is going to be for our $20 backers. So if you would like to hear more of this, please give us a look at the Indiegogo page. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. So donate the $20 to get the extra content, which includes the other part of this podcast and behind the scenes and some of the stuff. I did a behind the scenes vlog for Guardians. I can't wait to show it to you guys. Also, I can't wait to edit it, but that's a different story.
Yeah, that's the stuff. For those who are interested in maybe donating $20, I held off on talking about just about everything I've done for Capcom recently for this upcoming next half of the podcast. So you might want to check it out. Plus, my friends Cameron and Mitchell are going to be there. They're pretty cool.
Why, thank you.
I agree. I think I am pretty cool.
I like how the response is, Mitchell goes, yeah, I know I'm cool. And I go, well, thank you, Just. That's very kind of you.
I think Mitchell and I are just on the same page here.
100%. So,
why else would the audience be here if not just to, get, the Mitchell scoop?
Of course.
Yeah, honestly,
Well,
you should be paying $20 just for me.
I like the mentality. Here's the thing.
Love it. Sell yourself,
project
Mitchell.
that
Sell
energy,
it.
Well, yeah, when you
Hell
project that energy into the world, you make it happen.
100%. We are so far. I don't know how much we've raised at this point because we're recording this around 2 weeks ahead of time. But we are over halfway there. I can say that because that one I know has already happened. So give us $20, and we will see you. Thank you.
I meant to say, please.
And we'll see you later for the other half of this podcast. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.